The game I am most excited for this weekend is the first game in the Saturday slot. So the first game overall of Divisional round weekend. That is Cincinnati at Tennessee. I'm excited for this one. Is this the one you're most interested in too, or do you have a different one?
It is my second favorite game of the whole divisional slate in the
Okay.
AFC.
Okay. Okay. Oh, in the AFC. Oh,
In
okay.
the AFC.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, to be fair, if we're tier listing this thing, yeah, I'm putting the NFC ones as the bottom two as well. I don't know which order yet, but we can discuss those when we get around to them. Talking about Cincinnati and Tennessee, I man, I'm just excited to see. I mean, there's so many pieces that I love about this game. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow have been so fun this year. Specifically, Jamar Chase even more so because, it's him making the crazy athletic plays. But then at the same time, you always just get to just stare at the Joe Burrow stat line seemingly for the past few weeks and just be in awe. But of course, last week, grabbing wild card weekend, were the Chiefs and Bills quarterbacks, so that obviously makes sense why you point to that one in terms of the one that's really interesting to you. Then obviously on the Tennessee side of things, we have one of our favorite players in the league, possibly the most underrated player in the league, AJ Brown. If they target him more, still gonna say it. We've been saying it for almost a year straight now. It really has almost been a year that we've been saying this. But yeah, no, if they targeted him more, I have no doubt that he would be very close to the number one receiver in the league. And then we've got to talk about the Derrick Henry possibility and see how that may play out. But what's your opinion on that? How do you think that's gonna go?
Derrick Henry coming back. Well, I've heard analogies of like other players coming back during the playoffs where it's like, you keep that hot rod in the garage so you can bring it out in summer. Derrick Henry, it's like you keep the snow plow in the garage so you can bring it out when winter comes, and that's exactly what Derrick Henry's going to be. Not that it's going to be super cold in Tennessee. I don't think it's going to snow or anything where the conditions are going to be that bad, but yeah, having him back is going to be a big boost if he's 100% good to go back at it, which all signs are looking like he's going to be. It's going to be a big task for Cincinnati's defense that didn't look too sharp against the Raiders. Like they just barely snuck out of that game, and that needed some confounding calls by the refs, some decisions out there to have that game shake out the
Yeah.
way it did. Uh, but yeah, Derrick Henry. The one thing I'd want to see in this game really bad, and I looked at his stat line finally over the whole season. I think I brought him up almost every other episode. It has to seem, but Tyler Shelvin, has barely played all season. I think he's played in like 3 games total. I want to see Derrick Henry meet him in the middle. That's where I want to see an immovable object get ran into
Oh no.
by an unstoppable force.
Derrick Henry would literally end his career. Like he could be standing perfectly in the gap, like standing there, like ready, like look ready and mean and stuff to stop him, and you would just get absolutely ran over. That would be amazing. The rest of that Bengals D line, however, is not really something that you want to mess with. Also, I don't think that I was underwhelmed with the Bengals defense. I thought they actually did a good job for what the Raiders offense usually can get going against a lot of other teams. They usually put up a decent amount of points, so I thought the Bengals defense played well again. Also, I really still hate talking about referees, and I don't think that honestly, like with how the game went and the call specifically that everybody was shaking their heads about in the Bengals Raiders game, I think it's ridiculous that anybody even cared. The whistle was blown a quarter second before the receiver caught the pass. It was not, it would be different if it was blown dead right when Joe Burrow stepped out of bounds, but it wasn't. I mean, everybody was still playing up until a quarter second after the whistle was blown when the ball was caught. And I don't think anybody lost any ground in that quarter second that was going to change the result of that play. So I think that was a good call. And if they took the touchdown away from the Bengals, I probably would have been more upset as not a fan of either team. But I'm just talking about Derrick Henry again. I think that he's. I always try to think like what percentage a game back from injury. What do I think like the percentage is that somebody's really successful? I would give it like a 25% chance. Usually guys come back from injury and don't do much. That's how it usually goes. But he's just such a different breed. I almost want to say it's like a 50-50 chance. And I really don't know who I want to pick for this game because I feel like he does play such a key role in them keeping up. Because I think the Bengals are going to put a lot of points on the board. Like you said, it's Tennessee this time of year. So it's not going to be warm, but it's also not going to be like freezing cold like it could be in other places. Like if they were playing in Cincinnati, it could be freezing cold. So with that in mind, I think the Bengals are going to be able to put up a lot of points. And then I feel like there's a 50-50 chance that Derrick Henry really gets going. And if he gets going, I feel like they should be able to beat the Bengals. But if he doesn't get going, then I feel like the Bengals should be able to outscore them. And that's really an interesting concept because it really leaves the game pretty up in the air, especially because I can't even point to something like the Bengals being like a poor road team or anything because they've even went on the road and won games this year. So I don't really know which way I'm going to go yet.
One thing that may help Derrick Henry with getting going early in this game is that a lot of guys on that Cincinnati D-line are hurt, or at least the main guys are. Trey Hendrickson, he came back to practice in the middle of the week, got some full practices in. His game status doesn't have any game status, so he's good to go, but he's coming back from a concussion. And Sam Hubbard had a rib injury, and he was full practices throughout the week and has no game status. But if any of those injuries are lingering with them and causing any trouble, then that, I mean, those are their two best guys on that D-line.
Yeah, you're right. And I didn't know that they were both appearing on the injury report.
Yeah. Getting to Ryan Tannehill and getting those sacks is going to be a big thing when they do throw, and containing any outside runs, even though they're going to be running it right up the middle. Tackling Derrick Henry is the biggest thing. So a lot to ask for in that secondary for Cincinnati, too, because Derrick Henry usually gets to the third level.
What would you say? If you're the Titans coach? If you're the Titans coach and you really can't tell whether you think Derrick Henry's going to be 100% or going to be lackluster because it's hard to tell in practice and you're not really going to actually be able to know during game time, are you going to build your game plan around decoying him and using play action as much as possible? Or are you going to say, hey, we're going to give it a shot and we're going to really give it a good go in the first half and then we reevaluate in the second half? Or just, say, hey, he's going to get better in time, and we're going to go with him no matter what. What do you think you're going to... And, obviously, game situation changes everything, but, just going into the game, how are you going to look at it?
I say you go with that second one that you brought up, where you get Derrick Henry his carries early and often, and if it doesn't shake out how you want it to shake out, you reevaluate and probably go to a more heavy play action type of game plan at half. But he's the guy that really got you where you are. Set Tennessee up with a lot of good wins. They are the best team in the AFC record-wise. He got them to that point before he got out with injury. I don't see any reason to go away from him immediately. But if he's not performing the way that we all know he can perform, then yeah, I'd say you reevaluate that at half, or just have something in your back pocket that you can go to. Like, if you see the first couple series, it's like, okay, he's still a step or two behind where he should be. We can go to this now.
Which team's more likely to run a trick play?
Oh, Cincinnati.
Really?
Well,
I was going to say Tennessee by a mile.
Probably Tennessee. I could see Derrick Henry getting a little Tebow pass going. A little jump pass in the red zone.
I just can't imagine being Zach Taylor and being I don't know. It depends what type of trick play you're talking about. I can't imagine being Zach Taylor and being like Joe Burrow and just having him and just being like, yeah, I'm gonna put the ball in somebody else's hands to throw it or some other weird thing. Like, I don't see why you would do that with how he's playing.
I don't know.
Plus, if the Titans are worried about all these guys being injured and not being back to full health, hey, good way to kickstart your offense. Go get some trick play points. And we saw the flea flicker to Khalif Raymond against the Ravens a few years ago. We saw tight end or tackles catch touchdown passes for the Titans in the playoffs. So I'm just thinking back to those things before.
Yeah.
And I think that's less likely for the Bengals.
Hmm.
Um, Defensive side of the ball for the Titans. I mean, do you think there's anybody that's really an X factor in stopping the Bengals offense?
Janoris, who has started going by Jackrabbit full-time Jenkins. I'm expecting him to get burnt because he's the number one guy, right? Or
Well,
uh
he's a starting outside corner for them. So
yeah. So
I don't know if you
he's
could say number one or number two.
he's
Based off his play, I would say he's the number two.
yeah, he's going to be getting matched up with one of three guys basically that can and should be number one wide receivers on other teams in the NFL. And
Who's your number three? Who are you saying number three is?
Three?
Yeah, Julio, AJ. Who's the third guy? Who's the third guy?
No, I mean on the Bengals.
I'm sorry.
Janoris Jenkins
I'm sorry.
matched up with, yeah.
Oh my gosh, my brain's lagging. Okay, T Higgins,
wow.
T Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd. But I mean, we also are big fans of Auden Tate around here. Sorry.
Auden Tate,
no,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, I know players, but geez, sometimes my brain can just lag. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so he's going to be matched up with one of those guys. Elijah Molden's going to be out there too, and they got their rookie back.
Yeah, Farley and Elijah Molden, both the young guys. I mean, imagine. I mean, if Byard sticks around, they have those two guys. I'm blanking on who now. Now that I say I know players, I'm blanking on who the other safety is, but he plays well. And then Jackrabbit's really only the weak spot there. I mean, you keep that group around for a few years and probably find a replacement for Jackrabbit, considering he's getting up there in age. You really can get that's a very good-looking secondary, especially if those guys develop, which I would expect them to, especially because we already think they're so talented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but besides Kevin Byard and Armani Hooker,
yeah,
you got those two guys on the back end, which are really good, and they can pick up all the slack. But when it comes down to the guys that are going to be across from them, you got a lot of inexperience and athleticism in two guys, in Farley and Molden, and then you got Jackrabbit, who has all the experience in the world. That man's got ball skills. It's just, yeah, maybe a step or five slower than what you want him to really be
at this point. Yeah. Is there anyone on the Titans? I mean, some people say like Jeffrey Simmons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody in the Titans front that really scares you? I'm amazed by how much success this team has. Often just because, like we talked about all offseason, just the top heaviness of the team. And even then they lose the top heavy guys, and they still, for half the season, they lose some of the top heavy guys and are still able to get the 1 seed. So, I mean, it's really impressive what they do. But are you scared of anybody in that, like, front linebackers, D-line rotation?
I mean, I'm scared. I'm still scared of that Bud Dupree contract. So I guess all that he would have to do is just hold that up to me. Like, oh, I can't believe they paid you that much.
That's true.
But no, I mean, Nico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons, Bud Dupree. It's not really a scary bunch that's going to be up there. Jeffrey Simmons is the one dude that scares me the most, and the Bengals don't have that solid of an O-line still, and that's a big concern. I mean, they did a good job against the Raiders. Joe Burrow only got sacked once, which still isn't like that great of a thing. But Max Crosby's going to get his, and Jeffrey Simmons is going to get his too. So,
to be fair, I don't think there's many teams showing up to the playoffs without either a solid overall pass rush or at least one guy that's like obviously a dominating force. Like no teams, especially the teams we got left. None of these guys are showing up without at least one of those two things.
Bills?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Overall group. That's why I said overall group or one dominating force. Because like even I feel like it's, even though the Bucks have bigger names, I feel like it's kind of the same for the Bucks too. And like looking around a bit, then you've got Green Bay and you've got your Smith Bros, and San Francisco obviously has had D-line that's been very strong for a while. So,
yeah, I guess you're right. So, but out of all these teams that are left, I would say that Cincinnati has the weakest O-line out of all of them. So that's the one thing that hampers them the most.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. I don't I don't think I don't think that leaves much left to say. So, who are you picking in this game? Because I'm not. I told you I'm so far behind after last week trying to pick a bunch of upsets so that I could tie it back up with you. I'm basically completely out of it. I give you the win for this year, so I'll actually be picking the team that I think is gonna win this game. But who are you picking?
I don't know why you're doing that. If I get 7 straight losses and you get 7 straight
If
wins,
you predict
it's not
every
over.
game wrong the rest of the season, then yeah, okay, big you can rub that in my face more than the fact that you cuz even if you try to do it on purpose, I'll be impressed. Uh, but yeah.
Because that means I knew the team that was going to win the whole
Yeah,
time
you
too.
did. Yeah. So, yeah, but you can rub that in my face if you want. Anyways, who do you got?
Cincinnati at Tennessee. I got Cincinnati winning in an upset.
Okay. I'm I'm scared. I'm sad to say this because it would be more fun. It would be more fun if we were picking against each other. And I really like the Titans, but I am scared that I always err on the side of caution when it comes to injury, and I am scared that the Titans are going to try to use Derrick Henry and he's not going to be fully healthy. Listen, that that is something I really cannot say. We're just going to have to wait and see. So, if the Titans have a healthy Derrick Henry, I probably like them more than the Bengals, but I have to pick one and I always err on the side of caution when it comes to injury, so I'm gonna go the Bengals as well. Um, are you all set?
Yeah, I think we can cut this here.